Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we are finally swapping out this eBay coilover set that we have on the E36 M3. I've got a fresh set KW V3s at home. I've really been enjoying these morning drives lately with the E36. Just a little bit of bonding time between me and her. I wrapped that little center part in Laguna Seca to match the car, and I gotta say, I quite like it. So yeah, the coils on the car right now, they're like, I think they were like $300 or $400. We found them online on like eBay, but they're not bad. Like if you're someone who's just wanting to like lower the car and you don't really care about how it drives, they're probably okay. But I've done a lot of different suspension setups in my day: springs, height adjustable springs, and then cheaper like coilover sets, and then good coilover sets. If you're gonna put your money anywhere, it should be into the suspension, the brakes, and the tires. Those are like the three things that I've found that make such a big difference when you upgrade them with like actual quality parts. And ever since I did the KW V3s on the Supra, man, I've just never looked back. But yeah, so the deal with this suspension setup on here, you know, it's just like, it's very floaty. I just prefer when I'm building these cars up to have just a ride much more firm. But with the KW V3s, you have a lot more control. Obviously, we can set the height and everything. We can change the rebound, the compression, and then ultimately with the camber plates, we'll be able to bring them in just a little bit. So there's just a lot of reasons why this new coilover setup is gonna make a ton of more sense. But the fact that this like eBay suspension that's on here is relatively new is gonna make installing these new coilovers, these KWs, a ton easier. So here we go. We've got the KW V3s. If you guys are interested in purchasing the KWs, I'll have them linked down below. These are from Keys Motorsports. So for this, I'm actually just gonna kick off with the rears first. So put the car on all four jack stands, pull off the wheels, go from there. Cage just showed up. That's gonna go to paint today. We're probably gonna end up taking a break here after I finish this side. So this is from Auto Power. I believe I ordered it from Evasive, and it took like, I wanna say 3-4 weeks for them to build it. But yeah, you know, basic cage. Can mount up my harnesses on here. It's got the crossbar, it's all welded. They make cages in all sorts of different styles and weld-ons and like bolt-ins, all different ways, but that's what this one's gonna be. So not gonna tell you guys what color we're doing though. The color is gonna be sick. It's really gonna go well with this car, I think. So hoping end of the week we can start getting this interior back together. I also have the door cards I gotta put on, but so let me knock out the rest of this side, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take that to paint, and then we'll work on the rest of it. Look at the girth. KWs are much more girthy. So here's the new setup. I'm gonna toss the shock in first, and then toss in the spring, and we'll be good. side is good. I basically just set the measurements for this side comparable to what I had before. I can fine tune all this stuff when I get back into it. So I'm gonna knock out the other side. Obviously same process, just the other side. Yes, sir. I'm gonna run to the paint shop, drop that off, and then we'll get back to it. Cars Metrics is the place that I go to, you guys, for all of my paint stuff. Like, they do literally everything. They painted body panels on the M3, like the front bumper and those mirrors for Laguna. They did all that. If you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you need a paint shop, I'm telling you guys, these dudes do it right, and they do it right the first time. And trust me, I've dealt with a lot of paint shops, and these guys know what's up. Eventually, I will have the car completely painted in Laguna Seca. I really like that color, and I feel like I'm pretty much married to it at this point. The vision with this car, I kind of have like two visions. We're gonna build it up to the point where it drives really good, obviously like looks pretty good, and we're going to track it. I know some people are like, oh, don't track it, it's got all this new stuff. That's the point of the car though. Like, why I bought this car was to track it. And then after we get a bunch of good track content, you guys, I'm going to restore that car. And that is when I'm going to pull the engine. I'm gonna have the engine built. I'm gonna have the entire car painted. So everything like the exterior, the door jambs, the engine bay, it's all gonna be painted in Laguna Seca. So from there on out, it would see obviously less track days, but by that time, I'll have another car that will be dedicated to the track, and that's like all I'll use that car for. It'll be more of like a shit box, if you will. I'm stopping at BMW South Charlotte because they have some parts for me. They've pretty much ordered like all of my OEM parts for the E36. Also, I had a lot of people asking about like what the parts are that I've replaced, and I actually have them all listed on my website. Like literally every single part is listed on my website that I order for the M3. Let me tell you something. These BMW trim pieces, they're not cheap. So if you are in my position and you got to replace all these trims and gaskets and seals, boy, you better get ready because you're going to be dropping some money. All right, let's head back to the house. We got a suspension to finish. Oh, the joys of working on older cars. So we have the old coil here and the new one by KW. However, we do have to reuse our top hats. Problem we have here though is these are toast. The bearings are donezo in it. The bushings are completely cracked through. It's interesting because we have the Supra and like everything just works out because everything's so new. But like with these older cars, man, like this is just how it goes. You run into roadblocks, things have to get replaced. That is this side. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the other side. Then I'll go ahead and hook these guys back up and we will be good. Still got some torquing to do. Mostly everything is done. These are all just hand tightened right now. Still have to torque them in. When you first start putting all the bolts in, just put them in like hand tightened because you want to be able to have a lot of flexibility to like move stuff around and get bolts in there. So yeah, super exciting stuff. Yeah, suspension's never really fun. Brakes and suspension are never really that exciting. But it will be exciting once we drive it, man. It's gonna drive a lot better, that's for sure. So I'm at the point where I have everything torqued down. All this stuff is torqued down. The 3 bolts back here, 18s are torqued down. So now is when you wanna go ahead and put back in the sway bar links. Go ahead and put that one all the way in, torque it down, both sides. We will be replacing the sway bar soon. So we're gonna be revisiting this in no time. And then of course you can go ahead and do the same on this side, that one to come through. So obviously the reason that you do that is because if you have one of these being compressed and one of them not being compressed, it's gonna bind up on one side. So you don't wanna do that. It's easier if you just undo all of them at the same time and then redo them at the same time. So just a little tip. As far as like height, I really don't know like where to set these. I'm gonna have it pretty high up because I don't wanna drop it and like smash my fender. But obviously we're gonna have to make some adjustments anyways. I mean, if it's anything like my Supra is like definitely down here somewhere. So I don't know, probably something like this. We'll just shoot in the middle. And then these have little Allen key locks on them. but I'm not gonna do that just yet because we are gonna be adjusting it. So I'm gonna go ahead and torque these guys down and then throw the wheels on and drop her, and we'll see what she looks like so far. Hey man, if you guys wanna go off-roading, this would be the setup. So obviously out of the box, we left a lot of room. Got about an inch and a quarter or so. I think I'm gonna bring it down an inch on the coil up front. And then in the back, I think I'm gonna bring it down about an inch in the back too. So I'm gonna start with an inch lower all around, and then we'll see how we're sitting there. But before we like go for a drive or anything, because right now it's like really high off the ground. All right, fronts are down a little bit more. Dropped it about 3/4 of an inch. And I'm gonna leave it right there because these are gonna settle a little bit. So we've got about a finger that I can fit in there. And you'd imagine that this would settle probably a little bit more. So we're gonna be close to the tire. And until I have like the proper alignment and camber plates, I don't wanna go any lower. I think that that's plenty low. All right, you guys, so it is a new day and a new video. We left off with the car, we installed the KW coils, discovered that the top hats were trash. So I did some digging around last night. I ended up finding some adjustable camber plates that are local in my area that actually a guy is running on his E36 with KW, so I know that they'll work on this car, and he's gonna sell them to me. He just has to remove them from his car, and then I can go pick them up. So we're gonna save that for a later video. That means though, unfortunately, that we can't like wrap up all of the suspension stuff, but we have other things that have showed up. So this is gonna be just like a series, not really anything specific. I'm just working on the car and filming. That's it. So what we have here is the Turner Motorsports front and rear sway bars, and I'm going to install those. If you guys remember when I was installing the suspension, we had those sway bar links. We're gonna pop those off, and then we're gonna pop off the center bolts, and we can drop that sway bar, put in the new one. Brand new bushings, brand new bolts, brand new adjustable sway bar, should improve the handling, and just in general, it's gonna make the car drive much better. With the adjustability, you can set it, I believe it's 2 settings. If it's anything like my M2 was, there should be 2 different settings. You can make it so like the car is a bit more snappy and responsive, or a bit more like OEM. But these are thicker than OEM. They have polyurethane and like more durable bushings in them. And yeah, so it should be good. In addition to that, I have the trim pieces that I have to install. So a little bit about, I don't know if I'm gonna film all that part because let's be honest, it's gonna be pretty boring. But basically the cage arrived, and I have a little bit of story about the cage as well, but we'll get into that later. The cage arrived, and in order to install the cage, I need to remove the seats, and I need to remove parts of my rear seat delete. I'm gonna have to wait until the cage gets back from paint to like really tell where it mounts up, but I'm gonna try and install the cage myself here in my garage. I think I can do it. It's gonna require obviously some drilling and some mounting in the car, and then bolts that pass through. We're just gonna have to find out like where the bolts go through, probably remove some panels and whatnot. So I had this thought in my head, like I knew that I had to replace these trim pieces along here, and believe it or not, to get those trim pieces in, you have to remove the rear window. Now you can imagine with a cage in there how difficult that would be to remove that rear window. When the cage is in there, that half cage, you really can't get to the back that easily. It is very difficult to work around. These seats don't really have that, they don't go that far up for you to get back there. I'm a tall guy, it's not easy to work in the back of this car once everything is in there. So I'm kind of like methodically trying to figure out how I can do this in pieces that make sense so I don't have to redo things down the road and take things out. So in my mind, this trim arrived. First of all, this trim, it's pricey. It's very expensive. So the side in the box has actually showed up 2 other times bent. And if you bend this trim at all, it's done. It's toast. So I actually have these as well, and I think I'm just gonna replace those when we pull out the back window. Back window isn't too difficult to take out, but it does have to be done in order to put these in. The part that I will film is the sway bar install, and then there is one little issue that I'm running into now. The KWs are actually, they're rubbing on the back of the wheel. The adjustment perch is actually rubbing on the inside of the wheel. Compared to the eBay ones that we had on there, they were probably just a little thinner, and you could probably get by with only running the 10 mils. So unfortunately, that means that we have to go to a 12mm spacer, which I now ordered yesterday. It's gonna push it out a little bit more, but running with the camber, we should be okay. There's just a lot of things to juggle with this setup, man. It's not easy. It's gonna take a little bit of time to get it right, but in the end, I know I'm confident that I can get it to where we need it to be. If I really wanted to, I could just run the 10mm until it stopped rubbing, because at some point it's just gonna wear enough out that it'll stop rubbing. But with 12mm and the camber, I know that we're gonna be good. I did drop everything down a little bit. I do actually like the ride height for where it's at right now. I think that I'll bring the back up just a little bit because it seems a lot lower in the back than it is the front. But at the same time, you know, with these cars, they tend to sit lower in the back and you don't want too much rake. But yeah, these typically, you'll see that it's a little bit lower in the back. Not the end of the world, like it doesn't rub or anything, but you just wanna make sure that it doesn't look awkward and that the rake isn't like super gnarly. Okay, I didn't wanna bore you guys with all of it, but so here are the trim pieces that I'm replacing on here. And then obviously, like I said, we need to get that out in order to replace our trim pieces here, just because of how tight the fitment is through here. And this guy will have to come down. This is new. I actually replaced all this already. That will come out. If you are doing this alone, take this T25 out first and then take the two 10mm out while you're holding the glass, and then you can just do it on your own and you should be fine. So this is all filthy. We're gonna clean all this stuff up. And then the pillar here, super common that these just get absolutely demolished. I'm actually just gonna spray this satin black right now while I have it out. So that'll be just a quick little easy restoration for that. So the inside will look a lot better. These guys, at some point I wanna replace them, but they're like really difficult to find. Not the biggest deal in the world considering that we are gonna be running harnesses anyways. Got the old stuff off, cleaned all this up with a blade, and then went through it with isopropyl. Here are the new ones. I'm telling you, man, popping these tags on these OEM parts feels so good. These are pretty easy to put back on, the new ones. You're gonna see a little cutout right there. Cutout for that guy right there. So there's really no way to screw it up unless you're just a big ding dong. See how it's got that cutout for it right there. So it's just adhesive. Just make sure that you clean the surface area real good and line everything up nice and neat. And then once we put on that, that will be perfect, brand new. And then once we put on that, we will go ahead and start cleaning out all of this area. You'll see that I actually already have a brand new trim piece right here, so we're good there. But we do want to clean out like all the junk in here and then all this stuff up here. And yeah, inside. And then we can start putting everything back together on this side. It's just ridiculous how good that looks. Just like a brand new car. Unbelievable. That was literally like the only eyesore on the exterior of the car. Everything else was perfect. So yeah, meets up good. I would start on this side if you're doing this. Run it that way. And a quick tip, get yourself like a little pick tool like this. If you're finding it that it's difficult to get it in, go from the back side and slide it along the inside of the lip, the inner lip of this trim. And then you kind of open it up and wedge it in there. So now we can go ahead and put that inner seal in here, which is right there. And then we can go put the window back in. What a project this has been. But look at how good this looks, man. Super clean. Like everything. Oh, I did the door handle too. Brand new door handle. Brand new door sills. Insides. All good and clean, man. This side wasn't nearly as clean as the other side. There was like a little bend in it. Might be able to bend that back a little bit with like a trim tool. Yeah, it is what it is, man. I'm happy with it. It's a lot better than what it was. That's for sure. I think that I could probably straighten these out, to be honest with you, if I used some real gentle, like 2 pieces of plastic and crimp them together. I could probably try and straighten it out. It won't get perfect, but this one just came damaged in shipping, so there really wasn't much I could do. And these are really hard to get right now, man, so I just did the best I could. Still waiting on this handle to come in. But she's coming along, you guys. She's coming along. So we're kind of at the point where I can't really do anything until the cage gets here. I do know that in this video, we had talked about doing the Turner sway bars. I might just do these this afternoon. I'm like all over the place with this video, man. This might just end up being a couple of videos, to be honest. Fun little project. So all the trim replaced, new. Yeah, I think we'll just resume this video when I pick up the cage, and then we can start working on the cage. This is, I don't even know what I'm naming these videos anymore. Like, they're just gonna be, I guess, the E36 series, because let's face it, man, there's just so much stuff that has to be done. I'm really just gonna start putting this car together and like bringing you guys along for the ride, and we're just gonna document it. What up? It is Editing John from the future, sitting here finishing up this video. So like I said before, you guys, like these videos are gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna do my best to like organize the videos how I can, but you're gonna see that like this one has suspension and trim, and it's just gonna kind of be that way for a little bit. Bear with me. So the next video coming out will actually be the Turner Motorsports sway bars, and then after that, it will be the roll cage video. I actually just finished the roll cage yesterday. So I'm like super backed up on content right now, so there's gonna be some daily videos coming out just to crank this stuff up. With those local camber plates that I was gonna buy that I mentioned in the video, turns out he's not selling them. I think some of the bolts like seized onto his car or something, so he can't get them off. I don't know. So I ended up ordering a new set. It's not the end of the world. We can still drive the car. It's just gonna look a little bit weird with like 12 mil spacers poking out. But I definitely need to get this car like on an alignment rack. The steering wheel's like all cockeyed. I also ordered a steering wheel. I got a steering wheel coming on Saturday. Today's Thursday. Dude, I don't know. Literally for the past like week and a half, I've spent every day in the garage, all day working on the car, every single day. So it's definitely been a fun little project. It's kept me busy. Also, you guys, all of the parts that I'm putting onto this E36 M3 are gonna be on my website, as well as every part that I've ever done on any of my builds. The F30, the M3, the M2, the A90 Supra, and now the E36. I like to add all those parts up there because I get so many people that ask me about individual builds and like different parts, and it's just much easier if they're on the website. Anyways, this is gonna cap this one off. I know it's a little bit longer, so thank you for hanging out to the end if you did make it this far. What up? You a real one. But just like that, you guys, will wrap this one up. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Peace out.